Luca Nation, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We're back with our Tuesday episode, our StarStock episode. Be sure to stay till the end. Conrad's going to do an amazing breakdown. I think it's a real buying opportunity in NBA. NBA's fallen 18%, almost 18% over the last week, and we're going to get into that. But make sure to stay to the end because Conrad does an amazing job, and people have really loved it. Today, we're going to start off a little bit different. Kevin Durant and the Nets. They look unbeatable even without James Harden. Blake Griffin is resurgent, and I personally think might be worth looking into his cards a little bit, whether that's on StarStock or outside. But Cage, Kevin Durant.
Remember I gave a Blake Griffin play?
Yes, you did. By the end of this, we're going to basically give a play on every single player
everybody who's in the league. No, but when he came over to the Nets, it made sense. You know, he was beat up. You never know if he ride the coattails and get a championship, man. I mean, listen, Robert Horry, great player, right? Won a lot of championships. Was never the best player on his team. I don't even think he was one of the top 3 players on his team, but won a lot of championships. I'm not saying Blake Griffin's going to win 7 championships or anything like that, but people are like, hey, Robert Horry should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know about that. I mean, one of the.
I was going to ask you, Blake Griffin. Let's say the Nets win the championship. Is he a Hall of Famer?
No, not yet. But I mean, all of a sudden, the Fountain of Youth must be in Brooklyn. I'm going to head over there and find out what's going on because this was a guy. Forget about it, he couldn't dunk. In the old schoolyard. It was like, okay, you can't dunk, but can you touch the rim? Like he couldn't even touch the net. Like he was one of the you're 6'3", but you're pudgy. Like me. Like you can't. All of a sudden he's a high flyer. He's banging his head on the backboard. I mean, he posterized Giannis. I mean, that was
yes, he did.
Dunk. I mean, that was. Yes, I mean, he kind of pulled Giannis's arm down a little bit. It was pretty funny. He got away with that. But I mean, all of a sudden he's got hops again. Where did this come from? Ponce de Leon, where'd you go, my friend?
He's resurgent. By the way, Blake Griffin has a potential career in comedy. He's pretty funny. I don't know if you've ever got a chance to watch some of his Comedy Central roasts, especially the one with Alec Baldwin. We were watching that the other day. He's pretty funny.
I will check them out. Always like those funny guys, like Anthony Edwards. So go ahead. You can talk about the Nets. You think the Nets are they're gonna sleepwalk through this, huh? You finally on the Nets bandwagon?
Well, they look unbeatable, and I'm seeing something different from Durant, maybe R2. I'm seeing a little bit more leadership from him, and Kyrie as well. I don't know if you've seen them. They're talking to some of the younger guys. They're patting on the back. It's from what I'm watching, it seems like it is a team of egos. I mean, Blake Griffin, Durant, Harden, Kyrie, but it seems like they've all kind of taken and found their role, and this team's going to be tough to stop. And I'm curious.
Can I ask it? Normally, I'm the one who answers a question. Can I ask you a question in 2 ways? So number one, and I'll ask you 2 questions. You can go ahead and do it here. I'll get them both out there. Number one, you're talking about Durant and Kyrie as leaders of the team. These guys are going to potentially win a championship. Who knows? It remains to be seen. But that they're taking these guys. Are you subtly taking a shot at LeBron by saying you never see LeBron do that at all? Is that your way of saying that these guys are doing what LeBron does not do, and we're going to have an episode where you go after LeBron, even though it's a StarStock episode? That's question 1. Question 2. You feel free to answer that however you like. Question 2, more importantly,
this will not be a LeBron episode.
Okay, so 2. Last week, you thought the Bucks were gonna not only give these guys a run, but they were gonna win. So this is not a hey revisionist history or like wow you're a dummy. What has surprised you the most about the Bucks? That what you expected to see you're not, or just the Nets are that much better? Talk to me, because that's what I'm interested in this matchup.
Sometimes you hope as a fan, as an investor, that things click. What I've learned is don't wait for things to click, catch on to trends. For example, I'm going to go way different route here, but it's going to make sense. People, when I was in college, were buying up real estate in deep, deep West Philly. And they're like, well, if real estate in college town is popping off, it's only a matter of time till West Philly really takes off. Well, then you're sitting, waiting, and wishing. And I think that's what I'm seeing with the Bucks here. I'm sitting, waiting, and wishing till they find their offensive groove. But they're not going to, because they have a bad coach and they have a bad scheme. So, for example, Giannis is their main ball handler. But this guy can't shoot. Giannis needs to be working off pick and rolls. He should be working dribble handoffs where he gets the ball going to the hoop, not dribbling up the court where the entire defense can hone in on him. So that's on the coach. That's on the offensive scheme. But it just hasn't worked, and it hasn't clicked, and it won't work. Giannis taking 16-foot fadeaways against the Nets, to me, is ridiculous. Giannis taking 3-pointers at his will is ridiculous. He's a bad shooter. I was hoping with 7 days off, they would watch game tape and they would come prepared with a different offensive strategy and scheme. They did not.
So I love the comparison. And do you laugh at your friends now who bought in and you bought in Motown, Philly? So like you bought in a much better area. Boys to Men brought that place right back. So all right. So I mean, Giannis. I mean, the one thing you didn't like about the Bucks, even though you were confident about them, was you don't like their coach. You call him Coach Butthole, and obviously you don't think he's doing much better.
I call him that.
I think you did. I'm pretty sure you did. And if you didn't, you should because it's funny. So anyway, it's what it is, man. All right, so that's on that side. Can I tell you? I tuned in about halfway through the first quarter of last night, and I saw that Michael Porter Jr. had 6 points in 3 minutes, and then he was gone again. Joker shot pretty poorly from the field, but I mean that was a close enough game until the Suns pulled away. Are you a believer in the Suns? Because 4 of them scored over 20 points last night. It wasn't like, hey, Devin Booker's going to hang 60 and we're going to go. There were 4 guys on their team that scored 20 points. It's pretty.
I didn't watch the game. I went to bed early last night, so I apologize. I don't want to talk about something I don't know. What I was more surprised is that they held Joker to 22 points and nine rebounds and only 3 assists.
Yep.
That to me was more impressive. That they held the Denver Nuggets to 105 points. I didn't watch the game, so I'm curious your take. If you listen to our Scouts episode with Conrad, Conrad, out of all 4 matchups, this was the one he was most confident about, and he said the Suns are going to take this pretty easily.
The Suns look like a better team all around, right? They definitely do. And we'll see. This is going to be a make or break for Michael Porter Jr. We'll talk about him soon during the episode, obviously, on StarStock. But, it's a big thing. It's funny. To begin the game, it looks like Chris Paul got kind of bumped on his shoulder again. And he was kind of tentative. The shot didn't look right. But he obviously, they rode him down the stretch. And I think while he has not won yet, right, I think the big difference between the two teams is his experience. It's the fact that he plays like he's been there before. He's out there like a coach on the court. And Denver's got supreme talent. I mean, I'm not going to tell you Michael Porter Jesus is not a good talent. He's a talent, obviously, right? You think that's funny, dude? I say it a lot now, though. But so, I mean, he's a talent, and Joker's a talent. And, I know I said he's nothing great. People are telling me he finished 4th in the MVP race last year, and I get it. It's all kinds of fun stuff. Kevin McHale finished 4th in the MVP race once, too, but nobody's going to dive for his cards. So, right now, Chris Paul's the huge difference. Just like I think he was in the Lakers series. You saw when he was hobbled and when he wasn't playing, what a difference it was between those two teams. Where the rubber hits the road is if the Suns have to play like the Clippers, right? Because that's a different story. So we'll get there when we get there.
I think we're seeing a split where there's really good teams and then there's just pure NBA talent. Like this Nets team has played together for 7 games. But do they really need to play together when you watched Durant? He played on another level last night. He was crossing people up. He was pulling up from 3. He's 7'1" and he crossed someone up, got to the cup and finished. Remember that reverse layup?
Yeah. By the time he retires, he's going to be 7'9". He's going to be George Murison. I mean, his height goes up every single time. I mean, is he growing? Does he have a growth spurt?
He's huge. He's huge, man.
Oh man, Kevin Durant. Yeah, I mean he looked great, but I get what you're saying. The point is, I mean the dream team in '92 didn't have a lot of time to play together, but it didn't matter when you're that much more talented than the people you're going to play against. You don't need to have that chemistry. When you're the best by far, it's a different story. And that team, it's amazing because I liked Harden. Harden was like the distributor of the ball. He, when they did start playing together in playoffs, I mentioned this. Like he was the one who wasn't going to score 40. He was the one the ego was taking the back seat, but he still had 23 assists. And I was like, That's going to be the difference. They look just as good without him. It's amazing.
Well, we were watching the game. They put Durant at point guard yesterday.
Yep.
Did you see that?
Yep.
Think about that. You put a let's call him 7 foot scorer as your point guard, and you blow a team out. They were winning by 50 at one point.
Yep. Yeah, they won by 40.
I mean, it's insane. I haven't seen that before. And I'm curious what's going to happen in the Jazz Clippers series, because back to that, if we're following the same rule of thumb, Clippers have way more talent than the Jazz. Jazz don't really have that much talent, frankly. Outside of Donovan Mitchell and Gobert, I mean, Mike Conley, Bogdanovich, Ingles, these are not the most talented players, but they were the best team in the league all year. Who do you have in that series?
Coming into the playoffs, before a game was even played, I said it about the top, right? About these teams, right? You have to show me. You have to show me something before I'm going to believe in you. I'm talking about Denver. I'm talking about the Jazz. Partially I'm talking about the Suns, but obviously Chris Paul is showing you, and Chris Paul has been there before, right? And I said I'm not a buyer in any of those teams at the top of the West until they show me they can do it. So, yeah, Denver got through the first round, and they beat Portland, right? And I think we all thought it was going to be a tougher series for them than it was, right? Lillard's been there, you name it. They now have to climb that mountain again. They have to beat a Chris Paul who has experience. Same thing on the other side, right? Dallas, similar foe. Looked like they were going to get over that hump after the first two games, but all of a sudden, Kawhi, Paul George, people have been there before. They turned around and turned it up, and Dallas could not do it, right? You're now going to see that with the Jazz, right? The Jazz are now facing the Clippers, right? If they beat them, right, that's a huge step. If the Jazz beat the Clippers, a huge step, because now you're beating a team that's got some playoff experience, some tread on the tires, some wear, a team that's been there. And then you're one of the teams that has some experience. Now Donovan Mitchell has made it to a conference finals. Like, it's a different story. And whether you want to buy into it or not, like, playoff basketball is different. It just is. You know what I mean? And teams that have been there and done it, that I give them the advantage. So to me, I'm Clippers. If the Kawhi who was there in Game 7, Game 6, back against the wall shows up, the guy. I mean, look, everybody can talk about Luka scoring 50 points and a half, and I love Luka, and he's amazing, and he's an exciting player to watch. Kawhi almost had a triple double in that game. Also, he had a huge statistical game in that Game 7. Put him away. I mean, that guy closes. He closes. Nobody likes him because he doesn't talk. But in the playoffs, can you argue with his resume, really? So,
I want to talk about Terrence Mann. So during the game, Terrence Mann cards went from $3 for StarStock A to, I'm going to pull it up here. They were, $4 for StarStock A to $6.50 for StarStock A. And then today, someone accepted 4 offers for $2.50. What do you make of that? Is that just an outlier sale? You wouldn't pay attention to it?
No.
Is that an opportunity to buy?
I got an auto of his. I forget, it was Mosaic maybe. It's in Ian's collection. We got it back as a 9. We sent it in PSA like way long time ago, right? Terrence Mann. Remember your Terrence Mann auto? The scripts that you got upstairs?
Yeah, that's orange.
It's orange, yeah. It's orange.
We have another clear one that we.
You got a clear one that we didn't grade. Okay, we were getting some Terrence Mann, and we were like, wow, why do we want Terrence Mann? But if you look, it's perfect for StarStock, right? Because that was during the game, right? He looked good, right? But if you look a little deeper, that's impulse buying, right? So if you were buying during the game, which is when that $6.50 purchase was made,
Yep.
He was the difference maker. Like they were playing him. He was getting minutes over other players on the bench who would have otherwise been there. Who was it? Not Jackson, but who was he playing over? Patrick Beverley, right? They were starting him over Pat Bev, right? Definitely, right? So they were starting him over Beverley, and he was getting minutes, and he was contributing. He was playing good defense. He was being scrappy. And you can see an impulse buy if there are no other ones. Just, okay, whatever the bottom is, I'm going to buy. Whatever the cheapest one is, I'm going to buy now. But if you peel back the layers, and they even did it towards the end of the game, they showed the stats, like coming in, he had like 2.2 points is what he was averaging, and then he had like 14 points in Game 7, right? So, eventually, if you're reasonable about it and you take a step back and you look at the actual stats, he's great. He's a spark plug. He's a good player. Maybe next year he might start, right, on the team and actually contribute and have some real good numbers. I think he's lining up for that with his playoff experience. But he's not somebody who's going to be like the difference maker in every game, right? He was in that game. So I think when cooler heads prevail after it settles and you have a chance to not be buying that impulse in the moment, you see, all right, let me look. All right, he really only averaged a couple points, when it's all said and done. He had one good outlier game. Now, don't get me wrong. If he comes out in game 1 of the series and is playing, gets real minutes and contributes again and scores double digits, the person who accepted those $2 offers is not going to be happy. You know what I mean?
I think you said there. I think he's going to be in the starting lineup next year. I think he's gearing up for that. He's still young. He hasn't gotten a lot of play. He's not going to get a lot of play versus a Utah Jazz team, which is really experienced. I don't see. They needed him versus the Mavs. I don't think they're going to need him as much versus Utah team. I could be wrong, but I think he's going to be in the starting lineup next year. And I like that starting lineup. I think Kawhi, Paul George with Terrence Mann, who's kind of a slasher, a do-it-all, offensive rebounds, defender. I think he could really find a niche in the league next year. I really do.
I like it.
Let's go through the data.
Yeah, because I would imagine Terrence Mann's cards eventually will be on there next week. But yeah, let's go through the data.
So, I mean, we got to start with the NBA index, down 17.67% over the last week. Crushed. That's the biggest drop we've seen in a long time. RJ Barrett, down 48%. Trae Young, down 48%. Luka, down 33%. I feel like Trae should not be on that list.
So can I take this a little bit sideways?
Sure.
Using the numbers, because 100%. Like my play today is obviously if you haven't bought Trae yet, go buy your Trae cards. And if Barrett continues to go down just because the team lost and Randall didn't show up, that's another one to do. But if you guys remember last week, we give you the three performers who are the worst performers, and Andrew just gave it to you, right? So this is based on the data that StarStock, who sponsors this episode, gives us. Nice little inside data. You can get it yourself if you look at it, but here you go. You ready? Worst performers this week. RJ Barrett down 48%. Trae Young down 48%. Luka down 33%. Okay? Last week, we did the exact same thing. And we told you who the three worst performers are. And I told you, with Andrew's approval, that a strategy that we've had basically in every one of these episodes is to buy those guys who are the worst performers, because it's just people looking to exit. StarStock more than anything else, right? It's people looking to get out from under the cards. It's people who are overreacting. It's Barrett being knocked out of the playoffs, and people are saying, "Oh, let me get rid of him and buy some football cards." And week over week, the play has been buy those things that have been beat down, because it's overreactions on StarStock, and you'll see those go back up. This week, I hope you listened to us last week, because I'm going to refresh your recollection on who number one most down was last week. Michael Porter Jr. was down 51%. Andrew, you want to tell everybody who the top performer this week was?
It was Michael Porter Jesus, up 75%.
Michael Porter Jr. up 75%. If you don't remember last week, number two down on the worst performers list was a guy by the name of Mikal Bridges, who was down 47%. He was the second most down last week. You want to tell the folks who's up number two this week?
Up 36.36%.
Mikal Bridges. So number
Mikal
one
Bridges.
down last week, Michael Porter Jr. Number one up this week, Michael Porter Jr. Number two down last week, Mikal Bridges. Number two up this week, Mikal Bridges. You want to venture a guess who number three down 43% was last week? DeAndre Hunter was the third most down last week, 43%. So we gave you those three in our data, told you MPJ is down, we told you Bridges is down, Hunter's down. Do you want to tell the folks who number three top performer this week is?
Number three top performer,
Hey, good
DeAndre
guess,
Hunter,
pal.
up
DeAndre
20%.
Hunter. So it's to ignore a trend like that it's you ignore it at your own detriment, right? We've told you who was down, and that the play has been it's up. So the three guys we named who were all down are now the three guys who are up. So listen again. The three who are most down this week, RJ Barrett down 48, Trae Young down 48, Luka down 33. I have a feeling you're going to see at least one of those names on the top performer next week.
So have we uncovered something here? People use StarStock to liquidate their assets, especially when somebody gets knocked out of the playoffs. If you are sitting there and you're not in a need of capital, couldn't you be strategically picking out some diamonds in the rough, some really deep discounts, especially in graded cards, holding them in your collection? And I'll even go one further. Maybe one day you email StarStock and you get all of them mailed to you. And you send them to consignor, you send them to eBay, or you hold those cards. You don't necessarily have to sell on that platform, where you could be looking and getting great buying opportunities like we've seen week over week.
I mean,
am I thinking about that the right way?
100% the right way. Listen, everybody's looking for a new strategy of what to do while there's a dip. Everybody's looking for a way to play, and everybody's looking for that correlation between performance and not that daily fantasy. StarStock's the only one that's going to have it, right? Especially if you're active on the platform. It really is. You don't have to worry about timing, grading, all that stuff. It's in there. You can buy it. And I mean, if you believed in Terrence Mann going into the last game, and you're buying his cards for $1, $2, whatever it may be, and then you're selling them during the game for $6. I mean, that's the epitome of basically daily fantasy play for StarStock. So I love it. And you were talking about Terrence Mann. You want to talk about the top 5 players by sales count?
Sure. I want to ask. I'll get into that. Okay.
Yeah.
Top 5. Well,
you
can I ask you one quick question?
Yeah, ask, man. Come on. I love the StarStock episode. It's one of my favorites.
I'm looking at a Kyrie Irving card. Okay.
Ooh.
$875 for the Prism 2012. Okay. PSA 10 on StarStock. What has Damian Lillard done to justify that his cards are more expensive than Kyrie's?
People like Lillard a little more than Kyrie. He's a there's not much negative Dame stuff out there. He's a rapper. He's hip hop. He's got like street cred and the whole deal. And I don't really know too many people who don't like him. And he lights it up. But yeah, I mean, resume wise, Kyrie has already won one, and looks like he's got a shot to win another one. So yeah, I mean, if you're talking about
And LeBron's only won because of Kyrie.
LeBron won one because of Kyrie, smart kid over here. So
He literally only won that one because of Kyrie. Kyrie made that shot at the end of the game. That's a great point. Very smart kid.
He made but that's just one shot. Let's call the truth here. I mean, LeBron won a couple of the other games in that series pretty much single-handedly. But yes, Kyrie is good, and I would love to know what that card was sitting at like in the bubble last year. Because I mean, he wasn't, Kyrie wasn't playing per se. But when we saw those 2012 Prisms go up and the Lillard was approaching $3,000, what was the Kyrie? $1,500, $2,000? I mean, it's definitely off from its highs. And of all the people in that set, Kawhi's got a real chance to be relevant, as the playoffs continue. Kyrie's got a real shot. Anthony Davis, gone. Lillard, gone. Klay Thompson, gone for quite some time. So yeah, I mean, Kyrie is a good play.
It's just interesting. I mean, there's another one on here for Kyrie. There's a BGS 8.5 Panini limited autograph. Okay, a Panini limited autograph. How much do you think a Panini limited autograph of Kyrie should be? You're on mute.
I said I have no clue. I have no
$300.
Wow, really?
Swear to God, a BGS 8.5, which doesn't matter when it comes to auto. Panini limited basketball autographs. Bronze first off the line. Beautiful card. Oh, and by the way, guys, I don't know if you realize this. So when you go to StarStock and you click on the card, you can actually see the card front and back. You could flip it to the back if you just click on the image to enlarge it. Something to keep in mind. But Cage, you go top 5. You wanted me to go top 5.
Well, before that, I mean, just put a bow on Kyrie. Are the prices down because people just don't like Kyrie?
I think so. There's nothing that
Is there enough perfume put on Kyrie if he wins 2 championships with 2 different teams? I think so. That's a huge thing. A lot of people haven't done that. That's a big
lot of
thing.
people haven't done that. He's flashy. He's got a really cool game. As much as people don't like him, I think that there's also a group of kids that love Kyrie and that buy his shoes, that emulate his dribbles, his handles, and his game. So I'm not a Kyrie lover by any means. I actually historically have not liked Kyrie a ton. I didn't like how he left the Celtics. I don't like how he talked trash on his teammates. But if we just put that aside, Kyrie's market is a really interesting market. There's a Kyrie jersey.
Little birthday present for the kid. Little
you
Kyrie,
love him, man.
Cool
You spoil your little son.
Cool jersey. This is from a friend. That's pretty awesome. And thank you everybody for wishing happy birthday to the kid. He added some followers, right? Ian's card coloring. He added a bunch of followers. Yes, he got a lot of really nice messages. Look at this. You guys are the best. I mean, I clicked
on Card Porn's story this morning, and it was a shout out to Ian. So
yeah. It's pretty sweet, man.
Pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome. I mean, the hobby community. If you're thinking about exiting because of losses or because of something that happened in the last couple months, take a step back. Don't buy anything. Don't sell anything. Just take a step back and just take a look at what goes on in the hobby. Take a look at the people who are in it. Take a look at the the generosity that's out there. Take a look at the cool things that are done by participants in the hobby. All the giveaways that people do, just stuff like that. People didn't have cardboard. That was pretty awesome. Thank you. You don't have to do that. I mean, it's a kid's birthday, but this kid will be in the hobby for his life now. I mean, that's that's the deal, man. You got a player, so eventually, Panini can start selling a Target again. He's buying, at some point in his life. But yeah, no, seriously, thank you guys. But Kyrie, we'll see, man. We'll see if another championship might change everybody's opinion. So go ahead, top 5.
Top 5. Okay? Let's go through the data. So sales breakdown by sport: football, 15% of sales. We're gonna have a football index next week for you guys. Baseball, 55%. Basketball, just over 30%. Top 5
Football
brands
was
by
flat,
sales.
right? Football was flat. I think we're going to start to see. That's only the 15%. I think we're going to start to see starting next week's data. I think we're going to start to see a slow climb of the football sales count.
June is notoriously a slow month for trading and stock market and everything, just in general. So keep it in mind. Like, the reason I took that day trading class is because I wanted to compare market behavior. And guys, as much as there's been a sell-off when it comes to sports cards, there's been a sell-off in stocks. There's been a sell-off in crypto recently. So it's not just towards the sports card market. It's sometimes it happens that way. They say a lot of traders leave in May, they go away, and they come back in September. So there is that angle. I think patience is important, but I agree we're going to start to see way more NFL sales as we approach September time. Cage, anything from baseball? We haven't talked baseball in forever.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Also, another odd thing. I still don't know why this is happening, but 2020 Prism Draft Picks basketball was in the top 5 brands by sales. I guess maybe because so many people put so much of it in that it's just always going to be something get sold in the top. I love that baseball. It's 2020 and 2021 tops are the top 2 brands being sold. And I mean, I know I added to this. So Travis Demerite, there's 239 of those sold. I know a couple of those were mine. Like from boxes that I broke that I just sent into StarStock, all the flagship top stuff. Bobby Bradley, he's playing really well as well. But I mean, you have some basketball thrown in there. I mean, look at the top 5 players by sales count, like volume, and you see Cam Johnson and Terrence Mann. It shows that people are playing the game, which is these guys are not the stars of their team, but they're in the playoffs. They're going to get televised games. They're going to get exposure, and they're low risk, high potential reward type of plays, right? These you can buy these rookie cards. They're pretty liquid. And if Cam Johnson shows up and actually does something in one of these games in this upcoming series, or they continue on and he has a game here or there, people who are buying his cards, 250 of his cards sold this past week. I mean, people, that's a smart play. I mean, I'm trying to think. Like Kyrie play is a cool play also. I mean, like that. There are other players out there on these teams. Terrence Mann, Cam Johnson. I mean, let's go to the East, right? I mean, a bunch of guys on the Hawks, who are 1 or 2 years of tread on them. Who you could buy, Onyeka Okongwu, or maybe he has like a huge block game. You know what I mean? On the Hawks, he showed up and was making a couple cool plays. There are just a million ways to do it, especially with the playoffs going on and just everybody watching the games. Baseball. I mean, baseball, nobody should be surprised, obviously, that baseball, that the top performers, right, the top performers from this are guys who we talked about last week and all last season. Tatis, I mean, last I looked, the dude had like 17 or 18 home runs and like 13 or 14 stolen bases. I mean, he literally is on pace for like a 50-50 season, which is absurd, and he missed time. So, Tatis, Soto, up. These guys are not up huge, but Soto, Kyle Lewis. Now Lewis was on our beat down list last week. Same sort of stuff. So here's the actionable data, and take it for what it's worth. Keston Hiura is getting clobbered. He's down 44%. Right? That could just be somebody looking to liquidate. It could be somebody looking to to get out, exit that. Aaron Judge is down 32%. Now, that's a guy who at any point in time can turn around and have a week where he wins AL Player of the Week. I think he might have even done it already once this year. And Gavin Lux down 30%. That's a guy, I've talked about him a bunch of times, where from a StarStock perspective, you want to take a shot on him, right? Because that team, they're a good team. They'll be around when it comes down to at the end of the year. And if he's given any type of a playing time and it does anything, that'll turn around. By the way, before we do it, a little pat on the back, because I was about to say the Dodgers are a great team. But in our baseball episode, I said the Dodgers and the Padres, that NL West, are going to be great. But I also said don't count out the Giants. So that Giants is going to be like a three-headed monster out there. And the Giants are holding steady, man. They've been a very good team this year. So I take a look at those guys as well out there. I mean, ultimately, it's
they have good pitching, they have good batting.
It's just a good team. Like I can't even tell you like here is the top guy on the Giants. You know what I mean? I can't even tell you. I mean, what is it? Buster Posey's having another good season, right? I mean, when you're a catcher, people kind of forget about the end of your career. Right. So you figure, all right, it's going to be Joe Mauer time. And, they're not going to be good after a couple of years because you get beat up playing catcher.
You're always in that squat position, just destroys your legs.
It's part of it, but it's, you get beat up. You get beat up playing catcher, but he's having a really good season. Just the team overall is playing really good baseball. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to give a play on like somebody who we can who we can actually say like there's your guy. But I mean, Brandon Crawford is a shortstop hitting 12 home runs. I don't know if that's really actionable. But Buster Posey, they're
doing it. It's a team. You're absolutely right. It's a team. Buster's batting 333, 10 home runs.
I didn't realize it was that high, but yeah, he's doing good.
Yep. Crawford. I mean, I don't think Brandon Belt's still there, or is he?
He is, but I don't think he's having the greatest year. But he's still there. Brandon Belt's still there. Mike Yastrzemski, who obviously that's a baseball name. He had a great year last year as a rookie, and he's not. The stats are not there. But I mean, they all kind of contribute. They're all playing well.
And those are all the guys from the championship teams.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, I guess they know how to win, right? Is that the deal?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the deal?
So let's wrap with this because guys, if you're going to be in Philadelphia this weekend, there's a show in Philly.
I looked it up. Kevin Gausman is 7-0 with a 1.27 ERA. That helps.
Wow.
That helps.
Didn't he used to pitch for the Orioles, and he was mid-tier pitcher?
77 innings. He's got 93 Ks and only 16 walks. Wow. That'll help somebody. That'll help you. But yeah, he's an Orioles. He was it doesn't come out of nowhere. He was a first round pick for the Orioles, pick number 4 in 2012. So yeah, I mean, he's having a heck of a season. The only problem for him is that he's in the National League, and so is Jacob deGrom. It's gonna be hard to win many awards. That guy is just insane.
Well, I was looking at DeGrom's stats, and he has 2 losses this year.
Well, he plays for the Mets. I mean, he won. I think he won the Cy Young with a losing record or a 500 record.
How frustrating does that? That's got to be so frustrating, Cage. I think he cut out, but this is what I'm going to wrap this episode with. I think he lost service, but guys, if you're in Philadelphia, StarStock's going to be there. So if you want some cards or some slabs, and you don't want to ship them to StarStock, don't worry about it. They're going to be at the show, so just make sure to bring the slabs right there, and you'll hand them over. They'll do a little sign-in or whatever, a little form, and then they're going to be uploaded to your vault very quickly. So I'm excited about that. Last thing I want to touch on, and let us know if you are interested in this, if this is something that you want to see happen as well. I think soccer cards could do really, really well on StarStock. And StarStock is kind of at a stage where they want to hear more from you guys. They want to hear what's working, what's not, what you're enjoying about the platform, what you're not. And they're also open to accepting new and different types of cards. So one of the things that I was thinking, and I'm curious to see if Luca Nation agrees with this, soccer cards I think could do really, really well on this platform. So be sure to speak up. Let us know if that works for you. We'll reach out to them, and we'll try our best to make it happen. Stay tuned. We got Conrad right after this. He does a deep dive into the NBA Emerging 30 Index, talks about some opportunities and things like that. So hope you enjoyed today's episode. See you guys.